Hi everyone, my name is Angela Kim. Today we're going to be talking about COVID-19. So you've probably heard a lot about the coronavirus these days. You know, it's hard to escape hearing about the coronavirus. But today we're going to talk about 3 small talk tips that will help you be confident and talk about the coronavirus with others. So a little more about myself. I graduated in 2017 from Dartmouth College with a degree in geography. After that, I worked at a regional planning commission for a little while, and now I'm working in the Columbia Alumni Association in New York. So this is the first session out of 4 sessions, so thanks for tuning in today. Today we're going to be talking about small talk tips. The next one is about common coronavirus vocabulary. The next one after that is a brief overview of the US impact, and then working from home. So the top 3 small talk tips I have for you today is first, to be sensitive, second, to build trust, and third, to show empathy. So, these days people are inundated with global news of the pandemic. So it's hard to escape talking about this, but there's also deeply rooted impacts in society, which presents opportunities and challenges for you in talking to other people. So today we'll be talking about these small talk tips, and you might be thinking, oh, these are really common sense tips. But I hope that in this session today, we'll talk about exactly what it means in context, and then it'll give you confidence to navigate your coronavirus conversations. So the first one is to be sensitive. So this is obviously a difficult topic for a lot of people, and the personal impact because of the coronavirus will vary drastically. And while people are more open and willing to talk, you definitely need to listen and understand where they're coming from. So right now in the US, there's a lot of cases. I'm just going to show you this quick video. As you can see, the US has over 400,000 cases, while Korea is all the way down here and only has 10,000 cases. And so right now, it's April. I took this data from April 9th. The US has over 16,000 deaths, while Korea has, according to Google, over 200 deaths. So right now in the US, people know someone personally or know of someone personally that has been affected by the coronavirus, whether just by small symptoms or very drastically. So it's hard to escape. And so depending on how much people are affected by that, it also gauges their willingness to talk about that. So what does it mean to be sensitive? So, you have to kind of mention it at first, probably, because it's hard to escape, talking about the coronavirus, as I mentioned, but it's probably a good idea to not talk about the social impacts or economic impacts if somebody is talking about how, they have a really deep personal friend that is suffering from the virus, or, they're in the hospital, or they lost their job. So if it seems like they're going through a hard time, or they're just trying to be polite by mentioning it, then you probably shouldn't, go try to make a conversation further. So this, you really want to listen to by the tone. So if someone says, yeah, it's fine, it's great, and then doesn't really, talk more, then you might want to, kind of just shift the topic to talking about something else. But, if they're able to, if they seem pretty level-headed, if their tone is, positive and upbeat, then you can definitely try to ask more questions and gauge more further. So here are some examples. So when you ask someone, how are you? What is their answer? If they say, oh, it's fine, or it's all good, with that kind of tone and without saying anything else, then it's probably they might not want to talk about it anymore. But if they say something else, like, oh, it's been challenging, but, I'm still positive about it. My dad did test positive, even though they are going through a difficult time, it might be a open door to kind of talk more about it and ask them more questions. So again, it's my advice to you is to really listen to the tone and listen to what type of examples they're sharing with you. Yeah, so, and then this is another example. So if someone says, oh, it's been really hard lately because my husband lost his job, or it's been really hard lately because, my kid is, just home and I have to be a teacher too. Just based on what they say, there's different responses that you can have. So if they say something that's, kind of they're having a hard time right now and they don't know what to do, you can say something like, "I'm sorry to hear that. I know it's been tough for everyone." If it's like a little bit more upbeat, like it's not really like it's not at risk for someone to die or anything like that, you can say something like, "Oh, you'll get through this. It'll be okay. And how are you holding up?" And then if somebody is in the hospital or somebody is sick, you can say, "Have you been able to see your husband? Have you been able to see your dad?" And then just ask questions to engage the conversation further. So something you don't want to say about, describing your thing, it's like, "Oh, it creeps me out." Like, "Oh, like, the virus creeps me out," or just everything creeps me out. You can say, "Oh, it's definitely frustrating." So that's something that I had a conversation with the student. Um, so yeah, that was my first tip, to be sensitive. And then now we'll go on to building trust. So what does it mean to, use the coronavirus to build trust with with others? So first, I will ask you, what is your current relationship with the person? What are your normal conversations like? Do you often talk about personal details with the person? Do you, talk about your family life and, what you're going through? So you shouldn't think of coronavirus as something that's too separate or different than, what you normally talk about. So it's just, you should think of it as an opportunity to, further your relationship through this mutual difficulty that everyone around the globe is, going through. So yeah, the first thing that I can suggest to you is that you can ask details that they previously mentioned. Like ask about how the coronavirus has shifted their children, their family, their hobbies, and also general life. You can say, "How are your wife and kids doing?" If somebody says, I've mostly been watching TV, I've mostly been watching movies, I've been reading more." You can ask questions like, "How are you spending your time? What has changed in your life? And what has stayed the same?" So another way to build trust is just ask about their personal impact because of it, like what the impacts are in society, in their work, and in their life. And again, just judge based on what they initially say and their overall demeanor based on how they look at the situation as a whole and their personal impact. Another tip I have for you is to be honest, but not too honest. You want to strike a balance between sharing enough that it's authentic and real, but not being too honest and sharing everything. So a good response would be, "Oh, it hasn't been too bad. I've been able to adjust, and it seems like everything is going back to normal." In this one, it's truthful, like it hasn't been too bad, and they're being able to adjust, but also it's positive. Something that's not good is to, again, going back to being sensitive. If somebody says, "Oh, it's been great. I feel like I've just been on vacation. I have so much more free time and can do whatever I want." You probably don't want to say that, even if the coronavirus isn't personally affecting your life, just because the impact is so significant to others that you don't want to make it seem like, you're just having fun and on vacation while other people are, suffering. So you can, again, just share like what's real. If, you can, again, say, even if it has been like a vacation, you can just say, "Oh, it hasn't been too bad." And then, another thing is just to follow up and check in on them. So if they shared about their kids, if they shared about their family, if they shared about the movie that they watched last week, just say like, "Oh, the next time you talk to them, you can say, have you watched any other good movies? Or have you, done anything else?" So that's another great tip to, just build on the conversations that you've already had with people. And then you can, obviously go back and continue the conversation. So my last tip is to show empathy. And what does that mean? So showing empathy is expressing that it's difficult and challenging for you too, and also connecting and relating over the shared experience that you're having. So you can say something like, "Yeah, like it's been stressful. Like, yeah, I've been anxious. Like I feel like I've been stress eating a lot." And you can also just relate over your shared experience. Like, are you also quarantining? Are you practicing social distancing? Are you also working from home? So building empathy with the person that you're talking to is just showing that you understand what they're going through and that you've been through it too, and you can get through this together. So another thing that you can do is just ask what they're doing about the time and share about your own personal experiences by drawing from the things that are going on in your life. It will just, again, build trust and build empathy. So what are other things that you can talk about? So you can also talk about, just the emotional toll because of the uncertainty. So again, as I mentioned before, here is a good point to strike a balance. So you can say it feels really uncertain because we don't know when it's going to go back to normal. You might not want to say like, oh, I feel like I'm going to have a mental breakdown or something like that. You can talk about the changes to your lifestyle. So you can say, I haven't been able to see my friends as often, which has been difficult. Or you can talk about, disappointments that you've had. Like I was planning a big trip with my family, but it got canceled because of the coronavirus. So overall, I would suggest to stay positive and be supportive when you're talking about the coronavirus. It is an opportunity to discuss mental health and sensitive topics and to go deeper in the relationships that you've already built with other people. That said, it's obviously, going back to the first tip, to be sensitive and just gauge how willing they are. And that's based on tone and based on the details that they're sharing with you. So another tip that I have is to avoid asking, can I ask you a personal question when you want to ask how their life has been changed or adapted because of the coronavirus. So first of all, yeah, you can definitely ask about their work, their family, changes to their life. So instead of asking, oh, can I ask you a personal question, which might make them feel uncomfortable because they don't know what you're going to ask and they don't know if they can share, you can just say, what has life been like for you? Which is a very innocuous question that, they're not going to feel uncomfortable about you asking. So again, the 3 tips that I have for you are to be sensitive, build trust, and show empathy. And I hope that with these 3 tips that you'll feel confident to navigate your different conversations about the coronavirus. So yeah, you can email webinar@ringleplus.com for any questions. And yeah, thanks for joining us. I hope that you'll tune into the next session as well. Thank you.